Hello, my name's Jalise. Welcome now, everyone, to my Supernatural Season 15, Episode 1. This is the last season of Supernatural. This is the premiere episode. And what can I say, everybody? This episode is basically how I feel about Supernatural right now. The title of this episode is called, let me just make sure that I don't screw it up, Back into the Future. What happened at the end of Season 14's finale, where God unleashed a whole bunch of ghosts and looks like he started an apocalypse. At the end of season 14, we didn't get a real clarification what happened. And so now in this season, we are figuring out that God opened the gates of hell. He opened all of them, including the cage. Everybody's out. Everything. He wants, and he's not going to be there. In Sam's own words, he described how Michael described in the back in season 14, how God, what he does is he goes from one world to the next, apocalyptic world. He leaves it because he got bored and he wants to start something new. So Sam and Dean believe this: if we could stop this, stop hell and all this stuff, like us against all the demons of hell, all the ghosts of hell, we ain't gonna have no God to deal with, because they always, what they did with Supernatural this episode, they really talked about how Sam and Dean, how they were just like pawns in a game of Chuck or God, and it was anything that we did, our own choices. Was it actually free will, or was it all a game? And Sam mentions to Dean, well, we saved people. That made enough of a difference, which is a good point. And this episode had a lot of callbacks. There's references towards Dean being a torturer for Alistair back in season 4. We got a little bit more reference to now Sam with having visions, which I did like, and what possibly could happen. There's a lot of moving parts I'm enjoying with Supernatural Season 15 right now. They're bringing a lot of stuff, nostalgia stuff back, and integrating into the story, which a lot of stuff we were missing. Now, there is a problem with Supernatural that we all must admit. Back then, when Supernatural, the first beginning seasons, we always had that thing can the brothers survive this? Can they live? I mean, the brothers were vulnerable in the first 6 seasons, but after around the 7th, 8th mark, they all became just superheroes. I mean, we all know they should be dead. In so many cases, they should be dead, but we want the show to live on, and here we are in season 15. So when I see the last bit of them being surrounded by zombies, demons, and the end of season 14, I'm like, how did they survive? I'm wondering. They run off, and they're trapped in a cemetery. A demon possesses Jack's body, which gives the actor some funny stuff. I mean, the demon that is possessing Jack is just funny. He's different. He's helping the Winchesters out and all that stuff. He gave him a lot of information. He gave the audience a lot of information about what's happening in hell and all that stuff. And he wants to make hell great again and all that shit. But overall, I feel like the problem is, though, with this entire season of Supernatural, not season, but this entire episode, they had a lot of moving parts that they're showing. They're showing a lot of callbacks to previous seasons. They're making oh, maybe this could happen for the future episode. Maybe this is our endgame. Maybe this is our endgame. I like that, but the problem is, though, with Supernatural, and I know I'm a cry wolf about this, but this show should have ended a long time ago, way before season 15. Even though I'm happy with what we got and all that stuff, and I know I'm supposed to shut off my brain and enjoy the ride, but for certain things like common sense, when Castiel and Sam are running away from these ghosts, and how they're just running super slow, and Cass Sam, come on, and then Sam's no, I got this, and I just see how they run and everything, and now the ghosts go after them. I'm like, did the budget just get bad? I mean, I know it was bad the last 2 seasons, but I felt when they focus on these storylines and everything else, it just feels like it's getting worse. Not the storylines, sorry, they have no budget for extra special effects sometimes. I'm when I see them running so freaking slow, the ghost after them, and you could just tell. Back then, when you had the ghost special effects, they felt like ghosts. They looked like ghosts. They felt scary. They felt threatening. Them in the sunlight in the middle of the road doesn't help the effect of it. I like that we got the past ghosts of like the first season coming after him. I enjoyed that, but the effect of it, like when I look back to season one, I'm like, man, this was kind of spooky-ish. How they made the clowns look, the ghosts look, it just looked so creepy and yet so satisfying. That what drew me into Supernatural. That's what drove me into the show. But now I see it and I'm like, you think they could have done this at like a nighttime, made a little bit more special effect? I mean, give me something scary. I haven't felt scared in Supernatural in a long time. And there was plenty of moments where I saw plenty of creatures that looked scary, but this was just like these ghosts and demons just nothing was like scary to me. I mean, daytime like this and they're just running and then the creepy clown like ah, and how Sam and Cassio are running. It's just like okay. I mean, I don't hate this episode, but a lot of this episode, it was a solid episode for showing a lot of stuff nostalgia. It brought up some lore. It brought up some ideas about what possibly happened. So it did its job. The first episode of this season was not bad at all, in my opinion. I think it was a pretty good opener. It cast something. It like drew some ideas out there. What could possibly happen here? What could possibly happen here? Well, Michael returned. We all know Adam's returning, so it's gonna be very interesting. And overall, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this episode. But the problem is though, like these little flaws with the how the clowns and the ghosts look just doesn't feel like Supernatural to me of the ones of old. I mean, I felt something more like spooky when we had Supernatural season 11 when Lucifer was in the cage. When you got those tense moments like that. That was great. But this, I don't know, it's just like they didn't have no budget, no special effects. I'm hoping we're going to get a better budget. I think we deserve it after fucking 15 years. But to me, this episode, I don't want to say it left a bad taste in my mouth, but a lot of Supernatural lately, it just feels like the actors are there, but the effort's not what it used to be. I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of these teen drama fangirls that love Sam and Dean. They could do no wrong and let them go on forever. I'll just shut up and enjoy the show. Like, oh my god, Sam and Dean are running. I mean, I'm not that type. I'm the type of person who got into Supernatural because of its lore. I got into this show because of its special effects. I got into this show because I love the spookiness of this entire genre. So, overall, I enjoy the shit out of Supernatural. I have always enjoyed the shit out of this show. But to me, it just did not live up to it. But this episode was overall okay, but in my opinion, things could have been better. But yeah, everyone, that's my personal opinion, everybody. What did y'all think about Supernatural 15, Episode 1? Did you enjoy this episode? Do you think that, like me, it's not overall that... It was good, but it wasn't great. It was just okay. So, let me know what y'all think of one. My name is Lee, signing off for everybody. Bye-bye.